want to get something to eat? We went to 4 different restaurants and we recorded the audio. Yes, what you are about to hear is the real audio from real restaurants. So we're going to take a look and then I will be here to help you build your confidence so that you can walk into a restaurant and order in English. Let's get started. If you feel like you struggle to understand native speakers, I have the perfect thing for you. We've made a course specifically designed to unlock advanced English listening skills. 10-hour-long conversations with 10 people who have very different UK accents and styles of speech. You will hear a huge variety of voices talking about interesting and engaging topics. And that's not all. Receive full transcripts, listening comprehension quizzes, new vocabulary glossaries, and vocabulary quizzes. By the end of this course, you will feel much more confident understanding native speakers. So what are you waiting for? Get started today. Let's look at restaurant number 1. Restaurant number 1 is a typical British pub. Bez and I went in there to order a Sunday roast dinner, which is a very common dish in Britain on a Sunday. It has meat, it has potatoes, vegetables, Yorkshire puddings, gravy. Oh, it's delicious. So let's see what happened at restaurant number 1.
That's more or less.
Can I get you guys to drink?
Hello. Last time I was here, I had, not last time, I can't remember when it was, but I had like a claret wine. Do you have a claret?
Would you like a claret, yeah?
Can I get a medium glass of that, please? And just some tap water for the table as well. Thank you.
For yourself, mate?
Is that Jester any good? Is the direction?
It's a tropical IPA.
Yeah, I'll have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try it. Sounds good.
Pints of?
Yes, please, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. The claret? Yes, that's mine.
That's you, yeah.
Thank you.
And the Jester IPA.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Are you ready to order?
Yes, I think so.
Yes.
What can I get for you?
For starter, could I get the wild mushrooms on toast?
Yes.
And then the roast beef for main. Does that come? Yeah, Yorkshire pudding, roast toast. Yeah, roast beef, please. Thank you.
No problem.
And can I have the focaccia bread
Yeah.
to start? And then can I have the pork, please?
Absolutely. So that's the mushroom toast and focaccia to start, and then a roast beef and a roast pork.
Yes.
That's it, yeah. Thank you very much.
Those menus for you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks.
So the first thing we hear is, what can I get you guys to drink?
Can I get you guys to drink?
This is a super common question. You will hear this if you go to a restaurant, probably. What can I get you guys to drink? That just means give me your drinks order. And I ask for
Some tap water for the table as well.
some water for the table. This is something I often ask for. I have my main drink, usually a Diet Coke or a Diet Pepsi, and then some water for the table, please. So that means give me a jug of water and some glasses for the people on the table. Now with the water, I specifically ask for tap water. So tap water is free. So I often, if I want water, I will ask for tap water. If you don't want tap water, you can ask for bottled water. Now, if you watched my video on how to order a coffee, you will remember that a very common phrase I used was, could I get and can I get? So if you're in a restaurant and you want to order, a very useful phrase to have is, could I get? It's slightly more polite than can I get, but can I get isn't rude. They're not going to look at you like, ugh, if you say can I get. But could I get is slightly more polite.
For starter, could I get the wild mushrooms on toast?
Yes.
Bez then asks a question about his drink. He says, is that Jester any good, do you reckon? So he's talking about one of the beers. So they've got a selection of beers on the bar and he's seen one and he says, is that any good, do you reckon?
Is that Jester any good? Is the direction?
So if you've seen a drink and you want to ask the server, you can say, is any good? Or would you recommend So would you recommend the Jester? It's slightly more formal to say, would you recommend? So if you're in a bit more of a posh restaurant, you can say, would you recommend the steak? But if you're in a pub, you can be a bit more informal. You can say, is that any good? The waiter then asks,
Pints of?
and what he's saying is, do you want a pint of that drink you just ordered? But he shortened that to pint of. So if you order a drink that can be served in multiple sizes, if you don't specify a size, they might ask you. Then we hear a very common question: are you ready to order?
Are you ready to order?
Learn this one. If you are going to an English-speaking restaurant, they will probably say this. Are you ready to order? Now, when you've got a menu, it's quite common to say the in front of the dish you are ordering. So, could I get the steak, please? Could I get the chicken supreme, please? So when you're ordering your food dish from a menu, could I get the? Very natural, just how natives say it. She then says,
What can I get for you?
another super common question: what can I get for you? You definitely need to know this one because you will be asked this. That just means, what do you want? Now in the audio, I start to ask a question, but then I answer my own question. So I say,
And then the roast beef for main, does that come, yeah, Yorkshire pudding, roast potatoes, yeah, roast beef.
the roast beef, does that come with, oh yeah, and then I look at the menu and I answer my own question. But what I'm about to say is, the roast beef, does that come with roast potatoes? So if you want to know what is included on the plate, you can say, does that come with If you are asking and it doesn't come with what you want, but you want it, you could say something like this. The chicken, does that come with fries? No, sorry, it doesn't come with fries. Could I add some fries to that? Thank you. So you could ask to add something to your dish if it doesn't come with it. The waitress then relays the order. So she says,
So that's the mushroom toast and focaccia to start, and then a roast beef and a roast.
if all is correct, you can say something like, yes, that's great, thank you. Or yes, that's perfect, thank you. Let's move on to restaurant number 2. Now, I love going out and eating at restaurants, but I want to be able to make that kind of quality stuff in my own home, you know? And today's sponsor, Skillshare, makes it so easy. I've been using Skillshare's classes and learning paths recently to improve my cooking. Yes, I have. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives. They have thousands of classes from industry experts across a huge range of industries. Skillshare can help you take your career, hobbies, passions, skills, side hustles to the next level. Skillshare offers curated learning paths that guide you towards mastering your chosen skill. And the skills that you can master are endless. Check out this learning path for starting your own YouTube channel. Like I said, I've been using Skillshare to improve my cooking and I can't wait to explore other skills. There are tons of English language related skills that you can improve on Skillshare, so go and have a browse. Skillshare has also just announced some exciting improvements. They have a new and improved class system, including smarter class categories, 3 new class topics, and the ability to find classes by software and material. The first 500 people to use my link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Get started today. Restaurant number 2 was a very posh brunch restaurant in London. So that gives you a bit of context as to the type of restaurant it is. So it was quite posh in London, quite busy, and this is what it sounded like.
Would you like any coffees?
Yes, please. Can I get a decaf Americano with oat milk, please?
And can I get just a black Americano, please?
Thank you. That's mine, thank you.
Cheers. Yes, I think so. Can I get just the American pancakes, please? With
Eggs and maple sauce?
yes, yeah, that's the correct.
Can I get the scrambled eggs on sourdough and with the mushrooms? And
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's me, yeah. Thank you.
Scrambled eggs and toast with mushroom.
Thank you very much.
Do you like anything else?
No, I'm okay, thank
Do you like
you.
another coffee?
No, I'm fine.
So, enjoy that.
Thank you.
Now the first question we get here is, would you like some coffees?
Would you like any coffees?
So that's a bit more of a specific question, and I think that's because it was early morning and we were definitely there for breakfast. So he asked, would you like some coffees? And we did. So we say, yes, please. Could I get a blah, blah, blah? And then we order. But if they ask you a specific question and you don't want that, you could say something like this. Would you like some coffees? I think we're okay for coffees, but could we get some tap water for the table? So I think we're okay for that means we don't want it. So I'm okay for more wine, but could I get a Pepsi Max or something? So let's say you've already had enough and you don't want any more, or you just don't want any. You could say, we're okay for that. So would you like some coffees? I think we're okay for coffees, but could we get some orange juice, please? Then we hear again, are you ready to order?
Cheers.
I told you would hear that one a lot. So they say, are you ready to order? And we say, yes, please. Can we get blah, 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 blah? And we go into our order. Now on the menu at this place, it said scrambled eggs on sourdough. And then it had a little thing that said, plus £2 for mushrooms. So the mushrooms didn't come with the dish. They were extra. So if you wanted to have the mushrooms, you had to ask for it and pay £2 more. So I said that. I said, can I get the scrambled eggs on the sourdough with the mushrooms added? So you have to specify that. So you can say with this.
Can I get the scrambled eggs on sourdough and with the mushrooms added?
They ask if we want anything else. That's another thing to learn. Do you want anything else? The food was nice at that place, but we were in London. So when we saw the price and the bill, we were shocked. So it's expensive in London. Let's move on to restaurant number 3. Now, restaurant number 3 was a little bit different because we paid and ordered at the bar. So it wasn't table service, it was ordering at the bar. So a lot of restaurants in the UK are like this, specifically pubs. So if you go into a restaurant in the UK or anywhere and you're not sure where to order, you can just ask. You can ask anyone who works there and say, excuse me, do we order at the table or at the bar? So do we order at our table or at the bar? So here I had to order at the bar. Hiya. Sorry, no, it's fine. Hiya, do we order here, yeah? Yeah. Perfect. So we just sat at that table over there, the little one. Yeah, thank you. Could we get 2 of the chili con carnes with garlic bread and rice, please? Yeah. And then a Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi, and then a normal Coke or Pepsi.
Pints or halves?
Pints, please.
Ice?
In the diet one. Thank you.
There we go, thank you very much.
Do I pay now or?
You can do it at the end if you like, it's up to you.
I'll pay now if that's all right, and then I won't leave without paying or anything.
25 cents.
Perfect, thank you.
Lovely, thank you very much.
Thanks. So the first thing I do is I tell them, well, I ask, I say, do we order here? I just clarify, and then I tell them where we're sitting. The very first thing I say, we are sat at that table, or we are sitting at that table, and I show her. So I describe it a little bit. I say that little one down there. At this place, we both wanted the same thing. We both wanted the chili con carne. So I said, could we get 2 of the chili con carnes with garlic bread and rice, please? So I'm doing the same thing, but I'm pluralizing it and making it 2. So could we get 2 of the beef roast dinners, please? That's how I ordered if it's 2 the same. I'm never sure in restaurants whether they serve Pepsi or Coke, because some restaurants only serve Pepsi and some restaurants only serve Coke. So I normally say, could I get a Diet Pepsi or a Diet Coke? Because I don't really mind. So I order kind of both. She then says,
Pints or halves?
Pints or halves. So that's similar to the question we had in restaurant 1 where he said pint of. She just made it a little bit different and she said pints or halves. So do you want a full pint of your Diet Coke or just a half of your Diet Coke? I wanted a pint, but you can have whatever you want. Obviously, you're ordering. Now, one thing to be aware of, in UK pubs, they might say ice and a slice. That's quite a common phrase. Ice and a slice means, do you want ice and do you want a little bit of fruit, like a little lemon slice or a lime slice? So you could say, yes please, or yes to the ice, no to the slice, or no fruit please. Sometimes people say that, they say no fruit please. Then I wait while she makes my drink. So if you go to a UK pub and you order at the bar, you can take your drink straight away. So you go up, you order, They make your drinks and then you go sit down. I wasn't sure when to pay, so I said, do I pay now or? And I don't even need to finish that question because she knows the ending, but the full question would be, do I pay now or at the end? Okay, let's go to our last restaurant. This is restaurant number 4.
Should I drink first, please?
No.
Yes. Can I just get like a Diet Pepsi or a Diet Coke or something?
Diet Coke, yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
And can I just get a regular Coke, please?
One normal, one Diet Coke. Do you want lemon?
Yes, please.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
And can we get some tap water for the table as well,
Yep.
please? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
so. Could we get to start the was it the mixed starter? Yeah, the mixed starter.
For 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Yep.
And then I'll just have a chicken pad thai, please.
Chicken pad thai.
Yes, thank
And
you.
me too, to be honest. Yeah.
So
Same.
2 chicken pad thai. That's amazing.
Easy peasy.
Easy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Right.
Your fish?
Yes, that's
Really
great.
nice, thank you very much.
Just got a quick question. So we might come back here with some friends. Do you have vegan options on your menu at all?
Yes, we do, but
Kind of ish.
yeah, we can make it vegetarian for you. Yeah, we can make it.
Okay, perfect. That's great. That's good to know. Thank you very much.
So the first thing we hear is the waiter coming over and saying,
Should I drink first, please?
you might hear someone say this, or you might hear, can I get you some drinks to start? And then we order our drinks. We know the drill now, we're getting used to this. When ordering the drinks, you'll notice that he says, do you want lemon? So that's like what I was saying about the fruit, but he's making it specific. Do you want lemon? In the Coke, he doesn't mean lemon juice, he means a slice of lemon. So, do you want lemon? So at this restaurant, we were ordering starters. So I made it clear that I was ordering a starter and I said, could we get to start the mixed starter? So if you want to order a starter, you can say, could I get blah, 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 blah to start? So could I get the mushrooms to start, please? Or could I get to start the mushrooms, please? And then you could say something like, and then for main, could I get the pepperoni pizza?
Could we get to start the was it the mixed starter? Yeah, the mixed starter.
Then we eat our starter and it was absolutely delicious. And the waiter comes over and says,
Your fish?
then I wanted to ask him a question because genuinely I want to bring some of my friends to this restaurant and I've got some vegan friends. So I say, do you have any vegan options? So do you have vegan food on this menu? So hello, I'd like to book in your restaurant. Do you cater for vegans or do you cater for vegetarians? Something like that. The other thing that might be useful for you if you have allergies is the allergen menu. So restaurants have to have an allergen menu which tells you what allergens are in what dish. So if you are allergic to peanuts, you can ask for the allergen menu and that will tell you this dish has peanuts, this dish doesn't have peanuts, all of that. So if you have allergies, you can walk into the restaurant and just say, hello, could I see the allergen menu, please? And actually a lot of restaurants now, you walk in and the first thing they say is, do you have any allergies or dietary requirements we should be aware of? So that's when you can tell them if you have a very serious allergy. And there you have it. I hope that was useful for you. Please tell me in the comments where else you would like me to secretly record. Are there any everyday things that you struggle with or everyday English that you would like to hear? Let me know in the comments down below. If you want to get even more from Smashing English, if you want a PDF for every single video, if you want to get the videos 4 days early, if you want to have priority replies in the comments, if you want to get 2 live streams a month, make sure you become a member. We have also just released our website. We now have a website. It's called smashingenglish.com and you will find all of our courses on there. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you next time. Ta-ta!